All right, y'all. What's poppin'? It's your guy, DJ Foreign, man. We are back. Episode 1, kicking off right now. Long time coming, the Foreign Frequency. We are here. I'm not going to hold you. A little nervous about this first episode because I don't want to get emotional. We might get there. You never know. We might get there. But I want to say big salute to everybody, of course, who showed love, hella love, by the way. Throughout these few months. I mean, we're in December already. For all y'all who don't know, man, you know, I got laid off my previous job, iHeartRadio, Gemini 945. I was there for wild long years, and we're gonna talk all about it, man. We're gonna have a conversation. You know, I feel like it's owed to a lot of y'all. A lot of people still in my DMs, even till now, still hitting me up, asking me, hey, what happened? What's going on? Why I don't hear you on the radio? So we're going to talk about it. But first, I do want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody that, you know, everybody that reached out, text, called, DM'd. I know I said this on my Mexico. By the way, we're going to talk about Mexico too. But I know I talked about this on my Mexico video on my Instagram right now. If you haven't seen it, at DJ the number 4 EIGN. But yeah, the Foreign Frequency, man. This is episode 1 of not a comeback. I wouldn't call it a comeback, but definitely a continuation. But this time on my terms, you know. We're gonna still have real conversations. We're still gonna have real talk and really be outside, man. Like we really gonna get some things off our chest. But episode 1, I think, is going to be dedicated purely to, you know, the transition I find myself in. And you know, the world's a crazy place. Things can be up one day and then down the next. I don't even consider this a down, definitely a shocker. But yeah, man, first off, thank you to everybody. Thank you. Mad people saying that they miss my voice on the radio. They miss interacting with me on the radio, on the phone calls and all of that. And I miss it too. You know what I mean? It took me that was a career that I built for well over 20 years. You feel me? So, you know, it's something that it still every once in a while gets to my heart. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm human. I'm not Superman out here. Especially when you've built something for so long and you've been part of a journey and the beginning stages of certain things, and you know, just not only my personal growth, but even just growth with the station. You know, kicking off the morning show with Ashley and Santi and all of that, and you know, being part of that journey. You know, 6 years deep, and then before that, just we're gonna run through it. If you don't know my history, again. Yes, no longer with Gemini 945 after 20-something years. 6 years on the last 6 years spent doing the morning show, night show, weekends, host, DJ, and of course on air. And then you know, the journey before that was just kind of being, you know, a host here doing I think I did everything. I did morning show. I've done morning show the last 6 years. I did middays. I did nights the later part of the night. I did weekends. I did overnights. Yeah, every facet of that station I've done. And I'm grateful. I'm not going to hold you, man. Like, at first, I was kind of like, you know, WTF. I don't know if I can curse on this thing, but, you know, we're keeping it real, you know. If you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to it, you know, on the podcast, yeah, man, it was a shock. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a shock. It was kind of crazy how it happened. But that's the reason that I'm sitting in this chair in front of y'all right now. This is the reason why we birthing and earthing and releasing foreign exchange is because, foreign frequencies, because, you know, of these things that happen. So again, for all y'all who don't know, yes, I got laid off. My last day at Gemini 945 was the 15th of October. What's that? If I'm doing the math, that's about 15 days from my birthday. Crazy, right? But yeah, 15 days before my birthday was my last day at jamming. A week before that is when they let me go. It was a wild situation. It was on a Tuesday. I remember this. The way it happened, I didn't see it coming. For anybody who's asking, I didn't see it coming. This was not something that I think anybody saw coming. And when I say anybody, I'm talking about, you know, Ashley and Santi and I don't think we saw that coming. Again, could the higher ups have known? Maybe, you know, our heart's been going through these layoffs. I can almost say that I saw the writing on the wall. I'm not going to lie. I can almost say I saw the writing on the wall, because there was a lot of, you know, for the last, I don't know, 4 years, they had been chopping down, you know, and the reason for the layoff was that they were restructuring, and, you know, it's always a money thing with them. But I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I mean, these were conversations I even had off air with people at the station, where it was like, yo, you know, something's about to happen. You know, our time here is limited, per se, because you never know when it's going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen like this. You know, we had meetings and everything, and how our ratings, and, you know, they always do tests to make sure that, you know, we were always on task and always, you know, doing what we needed to do in the market, especially across the street when you got Hot 96 doing what they doing. You know, there's even Kiss 108 right down the hall. There's you know, there's meetings, these coaches, show coaches that will come in. Shouts that I got Dennis, who would come in and kind of tell us, hey, you know, this is what we need to do to improve. So, and from the last few meetings we had, our ratings were great. We were doing good, you know. So it was, you know, it was a Tuesday. I don't want to get emotional. I promise you I won't. But it was a Tuesday. The show had just ended. I actually had to skate a little early. I had to dip out of there a little early because I had a meeting that I had to be at, that I had to make. So I actually left. You know, the show ends at 10. I'm usually there until about 10:30, 11 or something like that. But I actually skated a little earlier, you know, about 9:45-ish. I ended up dipping out the spot. And as I'm leaving, I get a phone call from Pup. Before you skate, can you hang around real quick? And I was like, oh, I already skated. Well, he was like, before you leave, can you hang out? You know, Dylan, his boss, the big dog, wants to have a meeting. And I was like, you know, I can't really stay. He had said he wants to have a meeting with us. So in my mind, it was the whole station. Because every once in a while that happens. You know what I mean? If there's something that's important, you know, right after the show, they might pull us in and be like, yo, let's have a meeting real quick because, you know, XYZ is happening, and as a team, we need to discuss this. So he was like, yo, he wants to have a meeting with us. So I was like, oh, all right, well, I had to dip real quick because I got to go do something. And he was like, oh, okay, I'll let him know. I then group text the team, Ashley, Santi, AJ. I was like, hey, yo, listen, you know, this is, can somebody call me from the meeting, put me on speaker so that way I can hear what's going on, because I had to skate. For all y'all who don't know, I know some of y'all might be new to this channel, or maybe you're just seeing this for the first time. You know, those were my Ashley was the main co-host. Santi was the executive producer. AJ was also our board op and co-executive producer or co-producer. And then, of course, I'm there as well. So I sent a group chat to them, and I'm like, hey, yo, you know, put me on speaker so that way we can have a meeting. No doubt. I'm driving off. Maybe Pup is like, all right, cool. I'll let him know. Maybe 5-7 minutes later, I'll get another call. This time it's from Dylan. Mind you, before I picked up the call, I looked at my phone and I seen a missed call. So I'm notorious for this, right? I keep my phones on silent. My phone stay on silent. If you ever try to call me and I don't pick up, please don't feel a type of way. It's just you're not part of my emergency list. Like, I only got an emergency list of people. Like, that's my family. Like, I'm talking my kids, my BMs, and my family, like my parents, my brothers, my sisters. They're all on an emergency contact. So if they call me, the phone rings. If anybody else, I see you when I see you. And I did that. I mean, I did that before because, you know, I was getting a lot of distractions. You know, anytime you get ding, you hear the phone make a noise or something, you're kind of like, oh, I got to go see what it is. So I found that was starting to become a little hectic. So I said, nah, you know, we just going to leave that where it's at. So anyway, I get a call from Dylan. I see the call coming in. I'm like, all right, bet. Why is Dylan calling me? I thought it was going to be, you know, Ashley, one of them. I think in a split second, I was like, something not right. You know what I mean? Something not right. This don't feel right. But anyway, I pick up the call and he's like, hey, what's up, bud? You know, and he's like, he begins the conversation. Yeah. We wanted to have a meeting with you. But Pup told me he had a meeting, and I said, yeah. And he was like, well, I just want to let you know, cut straight to the chase. He's like, I just want to let you know that today's your last day on jamming. I was like, I want to say I was shocked, but I wasn't, though. In hindsight, now that I think about it, I want to say I was shocked, but I wasn't, though. Because like I said to y'all, man, like, the writing was almost on the wall. I don't know. I almost felt like it was coming, But bro was like, yo, today's your last day on jamming. No, pardon me. The way he started the conversation was, the company's making some changes and some directions with the morning show. And and because of that, you're no longer on, today was your last day on jamming. Now, again, behind the scenes, me, Ashley, AJ, Santi, we've always had these conversations. Like, they could come and pull the plug from the station at any time. They've done it to bigger stations. They've done it to bigger, more higher rated shows in the company throughout the years. So, even one of the guys that, Alan, man, he was one of the dudes that started jamming, like back in the 90s. Him, Shailene, and I think somebody else. But they let him go. They clipped him a while ago. And he was like the top dog, you know what I mean? And like I said, he was like the founder, like back in the 90s, 94.5 changed dials from, I think, being a rock station or something and became hip hop. And it was only the three of them that locked in and said, yo, we're going to make this a hip hop station. He was the founder. So when he got clipped, I was like, hey, yo, anybody's on the table. You feel me? So anyway, so dude calls me and he's like, yeah, that we're making changes. And because of the changes, your something like your position at the morning show, something to do with the morning show, is going to change your role in the morning show. So as of today, this was your last day on air. I'm like, okay, what do I do with that information, right? I'm driving, by the way. I'm like, okay. Then, yeah, it's still tough. Then bro was like, I need, I know Pup said that you left, so I need you to bring your key card in and Ray, and I just need to get, the whole spiel. He gave his spiel. Me, I'm like, all right. So my next question is, this is because it doesn't make sense to me, right? I'm like, I'm part of this station, a big part of it, right? I'm like, all right, so what does that mean? Like the homeowner show is done? He's like, nah, we're just gonna have to. I think I said, yeah, is the homeowner show finished? Like, is everybody like what's happening? That's what I said. I said, what's happening with the morning show? He said, we're just gonna have to go a different direction, unfortunately. And I understand. I understood his position, or at least now I understand his position. He's chopping somebody, he's in essence letting somebody go. So he can't, also legally, he can't say too much because, he's got to protect the company, right? So he can't say too much to the point where it's like, hey, yo, if I say this, you could always run. People sue for all kinds of things. So, he was keeping it, he was doing what he needed to do. He was doing his job. And he just kept it short and sweet. And he said, hey, listen, I just want to let you know personally. And I appreciated him saying this. He's like, I just want to say this to you personally. You know, I know you're going, wherever you land, you're going to do good. And it's unfortunate, things of that nature. He gave me a little consoling. But at the end of the day, he kept it pretty straightforward, And I was like, I bet. What do you say after that? You can't. You don't say anything. You just, all right. That's, I guess, 20 years finished. Hung up the phone. And I had to say, and I'm driving. And I was like, hey, yo. What just happened, bruh? Because at this point, I already know, like, it's just me, right? At this point, I had the sense like, nah, ain't nobody else get affected by it. And, and actually when I sent that text, remember I told y'all earlier, when I sent that text to the team, to the morning show team, and I was like, hey, yo, put me on the phone whenever y'all ready to have this meeting, I never got a response. So I'm like, at first my mind was like, yo, did these people know what was about to go down? Mind you, we had, you know, regular day. It was a regular morning. I was like, ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way. Ain't no way they faked it that well that we were just having rapport like we normally would, and y'all didn't say a damn thing. Ain't no way. But that thing, you know, I'm keeping it real. This is what Foreign Frequency is about. We're gonna be honest. I felt like, hey, yo, maybe they knew. I mean, later on, I talked to Ashley, I talked to Sante, and they had no clue. You know what I'm saying? By the way, shout outs to them. But yeah, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles. You feel me? Word to Tom Hanks and Forrest Gump. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So that was it, you know. And I thought, and I was driving home. I think the first call I did after a little while is I went to this meeting because I needed to go to this meeting, handle the business, and then be out. And then the first call I made was to my mom's. You know, and my mom's had just been here. My mom's had just visited over the summer. My dad had been here last winter, and then came back with my mom's in the summer. And I brought my mom's to the station. This is the first time she'd ever been there. She hadn't been in the States because for all y'all who don't know, I'm Kenyan by birth, born and raised actually. And my mom's and my dad had lived out here for a while, and then they ended up moving back home to retire. So my mom hadn't been in the States for a minute. So I was, you know, that was a proud moment in the summertime. I took my mom's out there. You know, she sat behind the control booth. She was on the mic pretending she was on A&A things. You know, she was proud of her boy, her last born. I'm the last born of 4. So, you know, they probably, and if you have immigrant parents, then you know that they're not really, you got to be a doctor. You got to be a dentist. You have to be go be a lawyer. You know, what are you doing playing music? That's the devil's work. And my mom was super Christian, but you know, I was able to prove him wrong, man. I was able to prove him and say, nah, I don't got to go to school to do X, Y, Z. So this was a moment for me to show my mom's like, hey, yo, look at what your baby boy has done. You know what I mean? Even though y'all didn't believe in me in the beginning, look at what your baby boy has done. And they believed in me. I know they did. You know what I mean? Off of music, I've done amazing things for my family. My parents especially. You know what I'm saying? Especially my mom. Because me and her grew up together alone for a long, long time. Our dad was out here, you know, out trying to make things work for the rest of my siblings, my sisters, my brothers, all of that. But mom has as a last born, you already have a special bond with your moms. But me and moms went through it, you know. I was there when she was working hella long hours trying to feed me. My brother was in boarding school. My other 2 sisters were abroad in schooling. My dad was abroad with one of my sisters trying to help her out. It's just me and her back home in Kenya. And it's like, you know what I mean? And as a kid, you don't really realize how much sacrifice your parents make to try to give you a better life. And, you know, I saw my mom do it. She struggled, bro. Like, she went through it a lot. So when I started, you know, when this thing started clicking for me and I started, you know, just getting a little kind of something, I always made sure like my mom is good. Even to this day, I make sure my mom is good, you know. So for her to come to the station and see it, that was a big thing for me. That was huge because I was like, you know, look at what it is. So she was the first one that I called, and I had that conversation with her, and I let her know, hey, yo, I just got clipped. I just got let go. You know, we had a moment. My dad was there too. I spoke to my dad, and you know, my dad was like, and you know, here's one thing I do want to say. I talked to a bunch of people. I talked to my you know, I didn't tell my brothers and my sisters for a while, but you know, the 2 most important people I needed to talk to were my parents. But in going through this, I realized one thing, yo. The wackest thing you could ever ask somebody who's just been laid off or had, like, especially a work situation, what are you going to do next? The fuck you mean, what am I going to do next? I don't know what I'm going to do next. It's been X amount of hours, X amount of days. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do next. For 20-something years, I breathe the radio. Now all of a sudden you ask me what, you know what I mean? And it made me think, because I've asked those questions. I've been the asshole to ask those questions too. You know, that's an asshole move. So the next time somebody's going through a life situation, don't ask them, what are you doing next? Because they have no clue. But I digress. Yeah, so that was a conversation I had with my moms, and I went through that emotion, and the next few weeks was just, especially the next few days, was just like, now listen, you got to understand something, right? I'm doing a morning show. I drive 45 minutes to an hour to get to this morning show, which means every day for the last 6 years, maybe 7, I was waking up at 3:30 in the morning. You feel me? Every day. Well, 5 days a week. 3:30 in the morning. Getting there to about 5:36. Do the show until 10, 11. Come back home. Like, there was a routine that was already set in place, right? And when that routine breaks, it's kind of like when you're such a busy, because I was, between that DJing, at the clubs, whatever other events I had going on and every other thing I had going on, it was a schedule for 6 years that I got used to. Even Santi and Ashley always used to complain about waking up mad early. I never minded it. I liked it. I like the hustle. I like the grind. I like being busy, So with that being said, all of a sudden just stopping and not being busy, that was different. There was a range of emotions, and that plays to your heart. You feel me? Like, that kind of makes you feel like, damn, like I'm dealing with this heavy news that my career has kind of, at the time has come to a stop. That's how you feel. Like, yo, this thing that I built for mad long years, like I told you, like since I was in my 20s, I was on these airwaves, and to finally work up that ladder and work up that grind and become the morning, part of the morning show, and then, rock that out for the next 6 years and still steady grinding, and then all of a sudden it just comes to a stop like this. That's crazy. You got to think about that. That's a mind fuck. That's a gut punch. I said this on the air. That's a gut punch. You know what I mean? It takes the wind out your sails, because it's kind of like you start second guessing, like, why me? All kinds of things go through your head. Why me? Why me out of all it? Why, you know what I'm saying? Out of everybody, like, is my talent not good enough? Like, why'd you choose me over? And again, I wouldn't wish this on any other person that I worked with on that morning show, but you think to yourself, like, why me? I'm the only one, right? It's not like the whole morning show got canceled. I'm the only one who got laid off. So it's like, why'd y'all single me out over everybody else? It's all these conversations and that you have with yourself. You know what I mean? And the thing is, now, if you're not busy, when I'm a busy bee, you're not really thinking about a lot of things, like when you have tragedy or you have like sad news or something like that. If you're a busy person and you keep moving and you just moving and grooving, you don't take a lot of time to just sit. This forced me to like sit down. I don't got to get up that early no more. You know what I mean? I had to turn off. That was probably one of the hardest things to do, was to turn off. I had my alarm set like on those, 3:15, 3:10, 3:15, 3:30, 3:45, 4 o'clock. I had to turn all them joints off, knowing that I'll never turn them on again, not for a while. You feel me? That could. And then now you at the crib and you just thinking about this constantly. You know what I mean? They talked about it on air. All of a sudden, I'm getting DMs. I'm getting texts for people who are close to me like that. I'm getting phone calls. Like, I was ducking phone calls. Like, there was people calling me, and I knew why they was calling me. I was like, I ain't answering to you, because what's the question they going to ask me? What you going to do next? Shut the fuck up. Respectfully, right? What are you going to do next? I don't know what I'm going to do next, man. My whole career is down the drain. Like, what the fuck you asking me what I'm going to do next? You know what I'm saying? And, you're thinking about finances. You're thinking about, I just bought a crib, right? A year ago, yeah. This is my 1 year anniversary. I just bought a crib. And you're not thinking like, and that's another funny thing, is that a lot of times in radio, I've heard of people who moved to certain locations, and the minute they bought the house, sure enough, they ended up losing that job. Before I bought this house, I swear to God on anything I love, I was like, yo, I'm going to buy this crib, and something's going to happen to the radio. Maybe I jinxed myself. I don't know. But, the things that I kind of thought about happened. Anyway, I ended up getting laid off. They tell me my last day, ride out the rest of the week. You don't got to come into the station. You can't come back into the station. And they gave me till the 15th. So I got paid for about a week. And then at the end of the month, your benefits run out. Just like that, bro. Like, even to this, as I talk about this, I'm even like, hey, yo, like, really? Like, y'all can even, you know what I'm saying, extend my joint out for a month, you know what I mean? But that's the business of radio. You know, it's a business at the end of the day. You build these friendships, you build this family, and these bonds with people. But at the end of the day, you know, there's someone somewhere that don't give a damn about what you got going on. So, and to them, it's about their bottom line, right? Like, are we making enough money to be able to sustain this company? And they felt it necessary for me to get clipped. You know, I wasn't the only one that got clipped. You know, my girl Winnie, also on Kiss 108, she ended up getting clipped as well. And I felt bad about that because she, too, had fought hard to get onto that morning show, you know. And she was there, I don't know how many years, but maybe 2 or 3. I don't remember her length, but even for her, you know, I felt bad for her. I was like, damn, I you know, whenever we did our podcast, this might get awkward. Salute to all this might get awkward fans and followers when we were doing that. You know, again, off the scenes, I knew how much that was a dream for her to get on that station. So when she got clipped too, I was kind of like, damn, you know, that's kind of messed up. So yeah, so that happens. I'm not immediately thinking and getting bombarded with, you know, how you doing, what's going on. And even though I appreciated that, it was a constant reminder of what happened, right? It's a constant reminder of, damn, bro, like, it felt like everything had been taken away from me. And, you know, it took me a little while, honestly. It took me a little while to come back to, all right, listen, you didn't need them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a bigger brand, or your destiny isn't defined by what just happened, right? That took a while for me to find, you know, and that's why I ended up going to Mexico, honestly, because I felt like I needed to get away, you know. Again, stuck in the same crib. Shout out to my cat. Where's Snow's around here somewhere. Snow gave me strength. You know, my son too. You know, my oldest. I remember and love to EK, man. My oldest came to me one time. He was like, yo, Dad, I just want you to not let this get you down. You know what I'm saying? I'm usually the one giving this kind of advice to my son. I'm usually the one, like, motivating him and trying to push him to do certain things. But he, at that time, like, and, you know, I feel myself getting emotional, but he at that time was the one who came and said to me, hey, yo, you know, he's the one that came and told me, yo, you're a beast, you know? So, give me a second. All right. Yeah, so he's the one who kind of came and told me, yo, Pops, I don't want you to lose yourself. I don't want you to, you know, I don't want you to, he sounded like me giving him advice. I don't want you to lose yourself. I want you to know you're a beast. Like, don't let that define who you are. You know, you're bigger than that. You're better than that. And, you know, you're going to bounce back because you've always have. I mean, if there's anybody who's seen my grind and my hustle, has been him. So coming from him, Ian, I love you. Thank you for those words. That was probably one of the most impactful encounters during this journey that really affected me and, like, kind of helped me up, you know? I use those words even to this day. Like you see, they get me emotional, you feel me? But, you know, and just day in, day out, you know, I was sleeping in, and you're trying to find the positive in things. I don't got to wake up at 4 a.m. no more. I don't got to. I could just, I could wake up at 8, 9, 10, 11. But I felt like I needed a change. So I decided to, you know, get my ass on a plane, and I went to Mexico. Why Mexico? Honestly, I don't know. That was the cheapest joint on Expedia that day. I'm not going to hold you. That was the cheapest thing on Expedia that day. And I was like, I'm going to Mexico, bro. You know, one of my favorite movies is Sicario. Anybody ever watched Sicario? I know I'm saying it with that. Sicario is probably one of my favorite movies, and it's about, the cartel and the DEA and all of that. But I was like, let me go to Mexico. I've never been to Mexico. I've been a lot of places in the world. I've never been to Mexico. Mexico's right here, right? You know what I'm saying? Backyard type thing. And a lot of people talk crazy about Mexico. Getting kidnapped, seeing things. People with their heads chopped off, hanging off of bridges, and cartel and getting kidnapped. I'm gonna say this: black people, we don't get bothered, right? Until I seen the one story. I don't know if y'all remember this. A couple of years ago, those black folks who went out there and they were trying to get, I don't know what they were doing, cosmetic surgery or something. They jumped in the car, took the wrong turn. Next thing, they were surrounded. I think a few of them got shot. Some of them died. I'm like, black people don't usually get kidnapped. They leave us alone. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you know. So, they're always saying like it's a dangerous place, and then the news comes out and says, hey, yo, travel advisory, if you're traveling to Mexico, be careful. Yo, let me tell you this. Oh, at least where I went, Mexico is amazing. Booked a joint. I stayed at a spot at a resort not too far out of Cancun. I'm trying to remember the name of the spot, maybe Don something, I forgot. But Mexico probably was one of my most eye-opening experiences. Why? Because I got there, and I normally don't do this, but I rented a whip. I got to Mexico. I said I'm going to do everything different this time than I normally would. Any other time I go somewhere, you're getting a car service. You trying to link up with Pete. Like when I went to DR or anywhere else, you're trying to link up with Pete. Yo, you from the Dominican, you got a plug that can pick me up. This time I said, you know what? I'm just going to go out there and chill. And, you read Reddit reviews, you watch YouTube joints, you're hearing stories from people being like, yo, Mexico's wild, be careful. I said, nah, I'm going to go out there, bro. And I didn't want to stay in Cancun because Cancun is very touristy. I wasn't going out there for a tourist vacation per se. I was going there to reset. I needed to get away from all the noise and all the everything. You know what I mean? I needed a change of scenery. It was getting cold out here. I was miserable. I'm not gonna hold you. I was miserable. You know what I mean? I could feel the depression setting in. I could feel like my thoughts overtaking my spirit. You know what I mean? And I've been there before. I've been in a depressed state before. That thing knocked me down for like a year, and I wasn't trying to go through that. I wasn't trying to be the type to be laying in bed and not moving with the blinds shut and just, you know what I'm saying? That wasn't going to be me this time around. I learned this before, so I said I need to change the scenery. So booked a ticket, went out to Cancun. Went out to Mexico, landed in Cancun, rented me a car for like, yo, listen, all right. So we talking about this right here. And by the way, the foreign frequency on deck, you already know the vibes if you're just joining in. But Mexico is amazing. Like I landed in Mexico, right? You get your baggage like anywhere else. There's all those people trying to hustle you to take their baggage to the car, taxi drivers, And again, you're warned, don't just jump into any taxi driver. You could be mugged. I mean, I'm 6'2", 6'1", 6'2". I'm 280, almost 300. You're gonna have to put up a fight if you're trying to get me. You know what I mean? So a lot of times that kind of gives me an advantage. People don't mess with me, but it's Mexico. You know what I'm saying? If they really want to get you, they could get you. But I landed right as soon as you leave. Customs and all of that. You're greeted by rental companies. And they kind of just lined up in little like kind of just, counters. Nothing like the States. The States is very like, over there it's just like a dude. As I'm talking to one dude over here, let's say at Enterprise, I look over down the street. The bro from National is looking at me like, hey, papi, come. It's a hustler country. And I come from that. I'm from Kenya. So I already know like, when you land in these kind of situations, aside from America, when you land in these kind of situations, everything is negotiable. So I'm over there and I negotiated the hell out of a rental. Boy, what? I got me a nice little Dodge SUV I ain't never seen before. I'm into cars. So I was like, yo, I'll take the Dodge. How much you giving to me that joint? That dude was like, yo, I'll give it to you for $200. I was there for 5 days. I'll give it to you for 200 and something for the week, and then a $300 deposit. By the time I was done with my mans, I had a $95 deposit, and I paid $75 for that rental. Come talk to him. Don't play with me, bruh. I just got laid off, kid. I just got laid off. You heard me? I'm not here. I'm not about to play this game with you about, oh, give me this. No, just give me the bet. So I ended up getting a rental for $75, $90 deposit, full coverage, because that's another scam that they play out there is where you go, and I'm giving free game for anybody who goes to Mexico. You can rent a car. It's dope out there. You just got to be careful how you negotiate your thing. You know what I mean? I ended up going with Hertz. Hertz didn't give me no problems. I would recommend them because they gave me full coverage at the same price. Sometimes what happens is you land at the airport. They you negotiate whatever you're negotiating. They give you a price. You end up going. They then shuttle you to basically where all the rental spots are at the airport. Everybody has their own little office or whatever, or hub, if you want to call it that. And then there, they hit you with $800 more. They'll be like, nah, for insurance, you got to give us another $800, $1,100. And that's what I saw a lot on Reddit. So while I'm at the counter, I'm like, yo, bro, this price you're giving me is all I'm paying, right? Like, you telling me it's the 95 plus the 75 or 65 or whatever, and that's all I'm not going to go over there and I'm letting him know, like, I know what's going on. You're not going to send me over there and then I'm paying another $800, right? He's like, no, my friend. No, my friend, you got it. I said, all right, no problem. Sure enough, Hertz did that. I tried to negotiate with the lady at Enterprise. No, national, because I got a national account. That shit don't matter out there because they all independent owned. But she did put me onto game to another dude who was trying to give me a deal. Be like, yo, that company right there, I forgot the name of it. That company right there, they're going to send you over there. They're going to charge you $800 more. If they do that, she was cool. I should have got the rental from her, but her price, she wasn't budging. I just got laid off. I'm not playing this game. She gave me her number on the card and was like, hey, yo, when you go over there, if they give you an issue, call me. We'll come pick you up, and I'll give you a deal. I said, bet. But Hertz ended up giving me a good deal. They ended up getting me to the spot. The car was nice. Another gem I'll give you is that even though my car came with full coverage, which means, if I could go demolish this whip, I'm not getting charged, right? But still, make sure you check the car out. Like, take a video, take pictures. Me and the boy that brought me the car, we was walking around any little scratch. You see that? Ended up renting the car, and I'm dipping. Now, the next thing that I heard about is the police out there trying to extort you, especially if you're leaving the airport or coming back into the airport, trying to extort you for, saying that you were speeding or whatever like that. So I'm a speeder, okay? I like to drive fast, but I knew this time I couldn't do that. So I got the car. We started skating. The highway is not really like a typical American highway. It's not 3, 4, 5 lanes or whatever it is. It's 2 lanes on one side, 2 lanes on the other side. It's like a regular road per se, but it's smooth, bro. Yo, Mexico, hella clean. At least between Cancun, Tulum, which is another maybe hour and some change away, and then Playa del Carmen, which is in the middle of the two. Yo, clean. The way they make Mexico, and this is why I tell y'all to travel, man. The way they make Mexico seem is that it's filthy, dirty, nothing but drugs going. Nah, Mexico is fire. The people there are mad cool, clean. Highways are smooth. Everybody was like, yo, the roads are rough out there. I'm like, what roads y'all talking about? That's why everybody has a perspective of how, certain things should go. Go out, whether it's a movie, a restaurant, whatever it is, traveling, go out and experience that joint yourself. Because had I believed everything that I read on Reddit or YouTube or anything, my ass would have got picked up by a car. By the way, let me tell you this. There was a car service that can just for you, they can take you from the airport to the resort and then bring you back to the resort. Like, you pay for both fares, $220, anywhere between $200 and $250. I was in line with somebody, this couple, and they were like, hey, yo, this is our 5th time. We come to Mexico all the time. I was like, how do you do your cars? Oh, yeah, you just pay a little $200. They'll drive you to the to your resort, and then when it's time for you to get picked up, they'll come pick you up for the same price, all in one. I ended up paying less than that, and I could move. You feel me? So I that's how the math I did in my head. I was like, why am I paying $200 just to go get dropped off and then get picked up? I could have just rent this whip and maybe get out of town. Even if I don't, I could at least drive to the resort, park, and then I'm good, right? Cool. So end up renting a whip, go to the resort. Highways are clean. I'm feeling comfortable. Everybody's cool. Nobody's looking at you crazy. And I spent a week out there, man, just chilling. You know, the resort was not big. It wasn't nothing crazy. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't a big party resort. They had a couple of weddings. It's slow season at the time that I'm going. This is November now. It's kind of slow season, I guess, out there. The beach is beautiful. I'm not a beach person, but the beach, white sands, no, whatever that moss or whatever washes up on the beach. None of that was there. But yo, I think I walked into the beach. I didn't even swim in the beach. I didn't swim at all. I was just chilling because this was my time to reflect. You know, the sun's beating down. It was a little rainy here and there, but for the most part, you know, the weather was amazing. And I got to explore Mexico, and that brought me satisfaction. You know, I drove from where I was at. I was about, 45 minutes to an hour from Tulum. I was about 40 minutes away from Playa del Carmen, and then another 20 minutes to Tulum. I first went to Tulum because everybody had talked about Tulum. You know, you hear everybody talking about, oh, Tulum is a new spot out in Mexico. So I headed out there. Beautiful. Everybody, like, it's chill, bro. Even the little alleys that you would kind of be like, yo, I shouldn't be going in there. Nobody bothers you. Everybody's friendly. Playa del Carmen is the same thing. They got a spot out there called the Fifth Avenue. That's like the most popular tourist strip. It's a long strip. But Playa del Carmen is a spot where they have Starbucks, like mad just American stuff. But it's catered to tourists, so it gets busy. But again, no wild shit. You know what I'm saying? Tulum was more chill, more calm. I would say more laid back. Playa del Carmen was more like, they said, I've never been to Cancun, but they said it was kind of almost like Cancun. Obviously not as big, but yeah, over there, like, they hustlers. Like, catches over there, you want some weed, you want some cocaine, you want some this, you want some that, you know what I mean? You want some girls, all of this, right? But I enjoyed both because I got to experience, and that's one thing I love about traveling is that you get to experience culture. And while I'm experiencing culture, while I'm out here driving, while I'm out here, enjoying what Mexico has to offer, I'm not thinking about what just happened back home. I'm not thinking about what just happened in the States, right? So it took my mind off of that and really gave me clarity, It really gave me clarity to be like, hey, yo, this is not the end of the road. This is not the end, bro. Like, I didn't come this far to just be this far. I didn't come this far just to stay this far. You get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like God has a higher purpose for your boy. I feel like God has a higher purpose for me and my career, or maybe the change of path of career. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? This is episode 1. I'm going to tell y'all like this. This took me forever to do because I knew I had to talk about this, right? And it's not something that I really wanted to talk about, but I knew I had to address it, get it off my chest. And I know y'all deserve to hear the truth too, but this was a thing where I was just like, nah, bro, like, it's over. Like, we have to move on. We have to close that chapter. You know what I mean? And we have to continue. So Mexico gave me the grace, I'll say, to just kind of chill. You know what I mean? Like, just relax. Don't worry about it. Like, just enjoy. You know what I mean? The only thing I hate about Mexico, if there's one thing I hate about Mexico, hate's a strong word, but once I say this, you'll understand, right? I love Mexico. Viva la Mexico. I'm going back, bro. Any chance I get to go to Mexico, I'm not even staying in no resort. I'm booking me an Airbnb. I'm booking me a little hotel. I'm getting you can get a lot in Mexico with a little. A little gets you a lot. You don't got to go there with thousands. Sometimes when I go back to Kenya, I spend a lot of money, right? And that's my home. That's home for me. Mexico, yo, I swear I could have survived off $100. That's how I feel, right? There's only one thing that I don't like about Mexico, bro. No ñash. Chale, there's no ñash. My guy, there's no ñash. If you don't know what ñash is, it's bunda. You know what I mean? Culo. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is. Mexican chicks have no buns. Bro. Yeah. Yo, Mexican chicks have no buns, bro. Yeah. Family. 0 buns. Everybody's short and stocky. I felt like a giant out there. 0 buns, bro. 0. My guys, ladies too. If y'all going out, I've been to DR. Every 2 seconds, I was like, damn. DR for me became ridiculous because there's too much ass, right? Like, everybody got a BBL, and it's ridiculous the size of these BBLs, right? And I was like, nah. I've been to Puerto Rico. Nice culo. Shout out to my Latino women. Love y'all. Kenya, come on, cuz. Some of the best nyashes are from the 254. That's Kenya's calling area code. I would move to Mexico, but we got to do something about the nyashes, cuz. I don't know who the El Presidente is out there. I don't know who's Minister of Agriculture. We need to start ingesting more rice. Well, they do eat a lot of rice. We need more nyash. Buns, bro. I saw one. And I'm a bootyologist. You understand? Like, my ratings is always up. I'm always looking. 0 nyash. Why? What is it? Come on, bro. Anyway. Let's get off that. Mexico was amazing. Mexico was beautiful. Mexico's weather was kind of shaky at that time. It was rainy, but 2 beautiful days. The spot where, if y'all haven't seen the video that I did on Instagram announcing the foreign frequency, go check that out. The statue that was behind me. The reason I chose that spot, actually, as a matter of fact, is I wish I remember the name, but I don't. But the reason I chose that spot is because that statue was made back a few years back, and the artist named it. He did it in honor of the natives, of the Mayan natives, and the Mayan people call that the gateway to new life, the gateway to new beginnings. So it was only right that I did it in front of that, because I felt like, yo, I'm at a position where, you know, life is about to change for your boy. You know what I mean? It's not waking up every day early morning doing XYZ. Like, you know, it's time to low key, not even low key, high key, you know, take control of your life, because, you know, you're the only one who can paint your narrative. You're the only one who can tell your story. Now, what's going to be difference between the foreign frequency, what we doing now, and what was on the radio? I mean, on the radio, you're a little censored. You know what I'm saying? Those instances, I'm not even going to dig into it. Maybe at some other time later on down the road. But those instances where I felt like I can't really say what I want to say, you know, cancel culture and all of that. The sponsorship dollars that are at stake and all these other things. So sometimes, you know what I mean? I remember even when I got the position the first time, right? Something was said to me that I'm not going to say now, but something was said to me by my big boss that kind of made me scratch my head, like, why would you say that to me? But again, people protecting a brand. You know, when you've built up a brand and a company, you know, you got to be careful what you say. You know, them days of shock jocking are not really, you know, the Charlemagne's is a shock jock. You know, what's white boy name with the long hair? Oh my God, damn, I'm drawing a blank. But, you know, the days of shock jocks are kind of dead and gone, because everybody's so on their P's and Q's. Everybody's so sensitive. Not that I was going to say some off-the-wall things, but, you know, some of the things I keep it real. Like, I don't know, like people who turn on their cameras to cry on camera. Like, why are you doing that? Like, you're dumb. Like, that's stupid. How like, what are you trying to like, you set up your camera to then weep and sob on, like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying, like, you know, there was certain things that would say, and sometimes I find myself holding my tongue. That's not going to happen here. You know, with Foreign Frequency, we're going to talk about everything that's going on. You know what I mean? Whatever little thing, like, one of my episodes, we got to talk about this because somebody was hating on cat dads. I'm a cat dad, bro. All right? And apparently, there's women out there that don't like dudes that have cats. I don't want to get into that because this is not what this episode is about. But I got to address that. Yeah, I feel like they were shooting shots at me. Nah, we can't do that. No. Y'all going to come to respect me and my cat-loving ways. You feel me? And I love more than just cats. I love all cats. You dig? Anyway, Foreign Frequency is going to be a thing where we have conversations, man, where we talk about what's going on still in the culture, you know, but now it's more my tone. It's more my speed. It's more my narrative. It's we dig deep into certain things. We're not going to talk about certain things. We're going to talk about, you know, what matters, bro, because, you know, as a black man in America, and I hate to make this even racial at all, but there's certain things like we go through that, you know, maybe I couldn't fully represent on these airwaves, you know, just because, again, you never know how certain things might get taken over, but, you know, it is what it is. Here we are, Foreign Frequency. It's gonna be a movie, bro, and I hope you know, y'all could stick with me through this journey. For anybody who I've ever, you know, came in contact with off the radio, you hear because of the radio, I appreciate you. It's just, you know, it's still, I'd be lying if I said it doesn't affect me still whenever I think about it. You know what I'm saying? I haven't listened to jamming, and that might be a question. Do I still listen to jamming? I haven't listened to jamming since this happened. I think I listened to jamming the morning after I was let go, just to kind of hear what they would say about it. And I think I heard a segment that they talked about it at like 6:45. It was quick. It was something quick. You know what I mean? And I think they continued the conversation the rest of the day because throughout the rest of that morning, I was getting messages like, "What? You left?" But I listened to that one particular segment early morning while I was up, and after that, I haven't listened to jamming. I don't. It's not on my presets. Nothing. You know what I mean? Because again, that's a chapter that's closed. You know what I'm saying? Maybe later on I will, but you know, you got to understand, like that's still a sore spot for your boy. You know. So yeah, no, I don't listen to it anymore. It has taught me though that, you know, a few things. On the positive side of things, you know, radio not only gave me an opportunity to voice my opinions. Not only did it give me an opportunity to meet some great people. I'm not even talking about artists. I'm just talking about great human beings, you know what I mean? Different characters. Some people not so great, some people amazing, some people you know what I mean? But it made me feel like you know, I connected with a lot of y'all, like especially if you were listening and you called me, like we had some conversations on those phones. You know, I used to have my own studio, so I was in a studio separate from Ashley, AJ, and Santi. So, you know, there was times there, like, I talked some people off the ledge, bro. Like, real talk. And we had some real conversations off air with some people, you know what I mean? And even on air, I had conversations with a lot of people. So it taught, and that's my fulfillment. My fulfillment is trying to help people. Like, I'm not in no way a hater. I'm in no way, like, I'm a good dude, you know what I'm saying? So, and I try to find good in people. I try to help people who I feel like are like the underdog. I try to encourage people to chase their dreams, you know? Funny enough, I'm the one who's always trying to speak life into people. In this situation here, not that I couldn't heed my own advice, but it took me a while to like listen to myself. Like the advice that I would have gave you if you was going through this, it's almost like I wasn't taking that advice, you know, and again, that's why I took the trip to Mexico, and then I did the video out there, and you know, and here is the beginning of the Foreign Frequency. But I'm super appreciative of what radio did for me, right? It gave me an outlet, as a DJ. It gave me an outlet as a person with an opinion, and I feel like my opinion is not like that of many, you know. It gave me a chance, like I said, to meet and build relationships with some great people, not only in the music business, artists, managers, record label reps. I mean, you're talking about with all these layoffs happening, me being included in this, even in the record business, that there's a lot of people who lost their jobs in the record business and they've had to go do other things to try to stay afloat. But, you know, a lot of these record people, like some big time record people, call my phone, be like, yo, bro, I don't even call nobody. If I hear somebody got laid off, I'm not even calling them. I might hit a like on their post, but, you know, me and you had, you know, and I built those relationships. And I think I feel like a lot of this love that I get from everybody is because I'm a genuine person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really, I don't think of myself as no celeb or bigger van or, oh, you the guy on the radio. And I don't look at myself like that. I'm just regular old foreign, bro. Same like you know what I'm saying? We're just out here trying to live and survive and enjoy life. So, you know, for the 20-some years that I did my radio thing, you know, big shout out to Ashley, of course. You know, she vouched for me or pushed for me to be on the morning show. That's how I met Santi when he came back, and he's a good dude. We built our rapport on the side as well. AJ, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like a gang of people like I just met, like, and them three were my family. You know what I'm saying? They my family, like, dead ass, like, we through thick and thin, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if something was happening to them or you know, we be from the station down the street or even down the hall, you know, I'm ride or die for my people. So, you know, and Ashley reached out, and, you know, I could tell she was heartbroken about the situation. Santi as well. So, you know, again, I salute y'all, man. Ashley, I love you. You already know that. Santi, you know you my dog. You know, I'd say I love you too, but you gonna make it weird. You know, AJ, you already know how we rock, bro. Like, you know, keep doing your thing, and just, you know, we have our conversations, and, you know, I'm always rooting for you. So, you know, but that's the end of that, man. Like, you know, it's not, I went through the bitter phase, the sad phase, the mad phase, the depression phase. You know, I'm still a little, you know, sometimes I'm like, you know what I mean? But understanding that, you know, I guess it would be different if I was fired. Then I'd be like, yo, it was my fault. But you got to remember, like, you know, again, it wasn't you, you know. Sometimes, and it's funny that when this happened, I started seeing a bunch of like different memes and different topics just coming into my thing. And I seen one from Steve Harvey, which funny enough, Steve Harvey was the reason why I took the leap of faith. Even when my kids were young, I took the leap of faith to pursue radio full time, 100%. You know, at the time I had a 9-to-5. I said, fuck that. I'm dead in the 9-to-5. And I'm just going to go full throttle on this, because I didn't want to live life and one day, you know, you ever meet some people who are like, yo, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be the person who said, I wish I'd gone full throttle on this to see the outcome. I did it. You know what I mean? From a kid from Africa, bro. Like, people really had to sit me down and be like, yo, Foreign, do you understand what you did, bro? Like, you came from Africa, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying we were dirt. We came from nothing. My mom struggled to try to keep us, you know what I mean? I'm not talking nothing like we were homeless, but we came from no money, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and my parents gave me the opportunity to come to a country where I took my passion for music as a DJ and made it into something. I mean, what bigger thing is the American dream than that? I don't care much about the fame. I don't care about being popular and all of that. You know what I mean? I care about just people enjoying and giving enjoyment to people. I care about, you know, making somebody smile. If they're going through a rough day and you hear my mix, or we have a conversation, or we have an interaction, like, it changes your life and you become, you know what I mean? You maybe have a different perspective on life. That's what I love to do. I love to try to change, because that's what I feel God put me here for, right? Is to, whether it's through music or just through me as a person, like, yo, like, you know, be kind to people and change their lives. And, you know, however that comes back to me is however it comes back to me. But I was saying about Steve Harvey is that I'd read something where Steve was like, "Yo, take the leap, take the leap of faith." You know, you're watching people jump off a cliff and their parachute opens, and you're like, "Damn, I wish I could do that. I wish I could glide like that." But you're not jumping. And he said, you know, yeah, you got to jump off that cliff. Yeah, you might get nicked, bruised, bumped on the way down, but eventually your parachute is going to open. I remember this. This is what Steve Harvey said, and I saved that video on my phone, and I watched it day in, day out while I was climbing through these ranks at gym. And you know, to go from where I came from to become, you know, my face was on a billboard, bro. You know how proud my parents were. You know how proud people back home were of me being like, yo, this guy went from living here to being on a billboard in Boston. Like, that's crazy when you think about it. You know what I mean? And then just the other day, I seen another one where he said, you know, bro, I'm telling you, life is funny. He was talking to a dude on his show, and the dude was like, yo, I just got laid off from my job and I don't know what to do. And Steve looked at him and said, well, you know, because he was talking about, I've tried to apply for other jobs. This was wild. I wish I could get the clip. Eventually, when I get, we're going to start playing clips. We're going to have fun with this thing. But today I just wanted to be real, raw, and authentic, right? But the guy told Steve, like, hey, yo, you know, I got laid off. I'm trying to find another job, and I can't seem to get any jobs. Nobody's interviewing me. Some people are saying I'm overqualified. Some people are saying I'm underqualified for the money that I'm asking for. And Steve looked at him and said, let's talk about just the layoff first. That's God telling you that wherever path that you are on, you're done with. And I believe in that. I believe, even if you don't believe in God, I believe like the universe. I believe like whatever you believe in, right? If you're a good, righteous person, I believe sometimes we don't listen to what the universe is telling us. I believe like sometimes we don't listen to what God is trying to show us, right? God is trying to tell us, hey, yo, I told you already from the beginning of this pod, I told you the writing was on the wall. We've seen a gang of people get laid off. Good people. Like I told you, the guy who started jamming, bro, back in 1990, whatever, he got clipped. And he was probably the most tenured person in the building. He was top dog, and they still let him go. So the writing was on the wall, you know what I mean? And you know, throughout the years was like, you know, I'd have conversations with a bunch of people in the building, and even with my trusted friends and all of that, I'd be like, yo, we need to transition. And sometimes God is trying to tell you, look at all these signs, bro. Look at all these signs. You need to elevate. Maybe I reached my ceiling. I don't know. You need to elevate, you know. And Steve Harvey told that man, let's talk about your layoff. Your layoff is a sign that you need to move on. Your layoff is a sign that you need to do more. You need to do better. You're destined for better things. And he asked him, what kind of job were you doing? He says, I was IT sales. He's like, what job were you applying for? IT sales. He's like, God is trying to take you away from that. Right? God is trying to take you away from IT sales, and here you are still trying to apply for IT sales. Right? Move on, bro. There's something you're passionate about. What are you passionate about? Bro said, I'm an amazing cook. He said, I'm a good chef. Matter of fact, I'm an amazing chef. He's like, all right, so do that. Chase your passion. Move on. You're in a job just to pay bills, which is what a lot of us do. We stay in positions where the dollar, you know, is what makes our life move because it's attached to a paycheck. So I'm going to go like anybody else. My parents told me to become a doctor. My parents told me to become a lawyer. I'm going to work this job. I'm going to be miserable, and I'm going to move on. Steve Harvey's first video, I told you this years ago, was like, yo, I was working, I was a customer service tech for like water heaters, tankless water heaters, right? And I was a tech, zero fulfillment, bro. Zero. I felt no passion for the job, zero fulfillment in the job. It was just on the hamster wheel like the rest of most Americans, because America's just one big machine and they need us to be able to keep working to fuel it. And I was like, nah, bro, like before I get out of here, before I can't work no more, I'm going to try this thing called radio and chase this DJ career and see what's going on. Now, luckily, thank you, Jesus, I was able to make a career out of my passion. You know what I mean? DJing, whether it's, winning awards and traveling the world because of DJing, doing radio, like, and that man said, what Steve Harvey asked this man, what's your passion? And he said, I'm a good chef. And he said, you need to go to culinary school then. Now, for the show, of course, Steve Harvey gave him a culinary, they paid for his culinary schools. He was a Jamaican dude too. Paid for his culinary schools. He said he had been thinking about opening up a food truck. I think Steve Harvey should have gave him a food truck, but they gave him culinary schools. Why are you giving him culinary schools when he's already an amazing chef? Again, it's for TV. But the point is, Steve Harvey put that in his head, like, yo, you're trying to go back to exactly what it is. My man Issei called me the other day. Shout out to my brother Issei from African United DJs. He called me and we were having this conversation. And he said the exact same thing to me before I even watched the Steve Harvey show. He said that to me. He was like, yo, bro, why you trying to go? I was like, yo, I'm trying to look into He's like, why you trying to go back to radio, bro? Like, foreign. You got a platform. People love you for who you are. You're a good dude, bro. Go to the next. Figure out what's next for you. And I said, I bet. We'll see what happens. And here we are. The foreign frequency. All right. Now listen, that was a little story that I just wanted to give y'all in regards to that, as far as, what's going on with the foreign frequency. I was supposed to do this for a half an hour. We've been talking for about, I think, an hour and 7 minutes. The foreign frequency, man, is just going to be, make sure y'all tapped in, number one, to my YouTube, youtube.com/DJ, the number 4 EIGN. And we gonna figure this thing out together. I'm not holding you. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yo, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I know the things I'm passionate about. I know having these conversations with you. These podcasts will probably drop twice a week, which we're gonna do, foreign frequency. So wherever you listen to podcasts audioly, make sure you get that. Otherwise, they're gonna be dropping in YouTube too. But aside from that, we're gonna be talking like we used to talk. We're gonna be talking about Diddy. I want to talk about Diddy. Diddy is crazy, bro. Anyway. We gonna talk about all that. Maybe I'll drop a double episode. Well, let's see. But make sure you follow the YouTube page. Make sure you follow me everywhere at DJ, the number 4 EIGN, man. I'm still outside in the parties, still doing weddings. Dedicated to Us is a series, man. My guy DJ Tone Terror started. Shout out to One Stop Production. For the unks and the uncles that want to hear some dope music. That's a series that's going crazy. By the time you hear this, hopefully it's before the Philly date. We're going out to Philly, but just stay tapped in with everything I got going on. All I ask you is just share this podcast, man. Make sure you hit that like. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, and put on your notification bell so you know whenever I drop a new video. If you listen to this audio, of course, you can listen to it anywhere. Like I said, twice a week, we're going to be dropping the foreign frequency. And then, I'm still coming up with a name for, the other episode that I'll be dropping on Instagram, which might be the Mic Check is what I'm thinking of. But you guys can help me out too, where we can talk about, everything that's going on in pop culture and hip hop and all of that, from the likes of Burna Boy almost getting canceled, even though his show in Boston was dope. To the Diddy documentary and things like that. You know what I mean? But this was just episode 1 of the foreign frequency. Thank you for being on this journey. If you've been listening this far out for the last hour, almost 10 minutes, I appreciate you. Thank you. Your boy ain't done, man. This is not the comeback. This is just a continuation on my own beat, on my own vibe. All right. So again, salute to each and every one of y'all. Thank you for everybody who showed love throughout my career on radio. Radio's not done. I'm still doing guest DJ mixes here and there. You never know where we might land. But for right now, this is where we at. The foreign frequency, man. Thank you again for listening. Thank you for watching. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. If you're new to this, let's stay true to this. You heard? At DJ Foreign, that's my time. Y'all be good. Y'all be blessed. I'm gone.